The South Carolina Battleground Trust was founded 30 years ago. We now protect 72 battlefields and military historic sites in our state. People can relate and are aware to some degree of key figures like William Moultrie, Francis Marion, Thomas Sumter. We've been trying to uncover the many, many unknown stories of the American Revolution in South Carolina. Stories about women that were involved, some as spies, some as actual combatants, some just defying British, some that were victims. We've been researching heavily on African Americans, both loyalists and patriots, the many foreign officers that came to America just to join the cause for liberty. There are so many unknown stories, so many unknown heroes. And so one of the stories that we uncovered was the existence of a militia company out of Charleston that was primarily Jewish merchants. And we knew that this group was not exclusively, but predominantly Jewish merchants on King Street. Merchants that had shops on street level and lived on the second, third levels of their homes. And that's a mercantile pattern that has persisted in Charleston well into the 20th century and still in part today in the 21st century. Now, we knew there were prominent Jewish patriots, but a company of primarily Jewish soldiers is a one-of-a-kind thing in the American Revolution. There's no such unit elsewhere in the colonies, and so Charleston had a pretty unique history in that regard. And we knew it was commanded by a fellow named Richard Lushington. And so we were intrigued by that.
So Richard Lushington really began to jump out of the historical record at me, that he was really a significant person in the history of Charlestown and 18th century Charleston. He was a Quaker, and so how was a Quaker commanding a military unit? Which that was already it intrigued me as a historian. So he really is a wonderful window to see what 18th century Charleston was like, and provides a new lens to see that through outside of those who dominate the historical narrative. So in my research on Richard Lushington, I came across a black and white photograph that was taken in 1936 for an exhibit on miniatures that was put on by the Gibbs Museum. We didn't know where it was, and so I began the long process of trying to track it down. I was able to find a Facebook group regarding the history of Wilmington Island and wrote a post. This lovely lady, Beth Adams, responded to my post within about 20 minutes and said that she actually had the miniature, so I jumped like a trout. They asked me, where might this go so that this couple can be remembered? Since Richard was a member of the Library Society, we think that he was probably buried at the Quaker Cemetery, which is just about a half a block away from here, that Library Society is the proper home for this miniature portrait.
The Library Society was founded in 1748, and we're the second oldest circulating library in the country. We can see in our manuscript an entry that describes Lushington's acceptance into the society. So being able to associate a portrait of this person with that entry in the record book takes history and makes it multidimensional and, something that somebody could understand at a different level.
For the Liberty Trail Project, we're the beneficiary of federal grants, state grants, and many, many private donors. We certainly thank all our many supporters and donors, and obviously thank the Library Society for being the custodian of this really significant artifact.